I am the competition director along with my co-director here, Kenneth Reyes. I'm the one who's been sending you guys the emails, Josh. You'll be hearing from myself and Ken, and then this is also our assistant director, Josh. You guys will be hearing from all three of us over the course of the next 12 weeks or so. Everybody's got some food, that's good. Did everybody get a non-disclosure agreement? Probably, it's one of those pieces of paper. Okay, if everybody could just read through that and sign it before leaving tonight. That's just so that everybody can freely discuss their ideas here and not have to worry about anybody infringing on any of their proprietary ideas or anything like that. And then if you do, you're going to get sued for it. So that's why you're signing your name.
All your assets.
All your assets. I don't know if they can take your student loans away, but maybe that would be a nice thing.
Please.
You mean you'll take my car?
Yeah, sure. If everybody has signed in, that's great. If not, do that at some point. We put on there your t-shirt size. We're going to be ordering t-shirts for everybody. So make sure to give us your size. That's all going to be men's sizes. So for the ladies, keep that in mind when you're signing up. Our second workshop is going to be on finance and accounting. That'll be about a month from now, February 28th. Everybody should be there. We'll send you guys reminders, and we'll probably give you some homework for that one, kind of like we did with the marketing worksheet that we sent out earlier this week. We'll probably ask you to kind of think through some of the financial statements that you're going to need, and then take a crack at starting them, and then our speaker will help walk you through all of them and help build them with you. That's kind of the homework to be assigned. We're going to share with you guys probably either tomorrow or Friday a Google Drive that'll have templates for your plan and for your pitch deck, a bunch of other really useful tools as far as refining your idea, and some marketing tools in there for you. That should answer a lot of questions. There's a copy of the rules in there for you guys, which I would recommend everybody to read through so you know exactly what you're getting yourself into. There's a lot of other good stuff in there, so we'll be sending that out. Oh, yeah, okay, so...
There's a lot more competing than those.
Yeah, so there's only 6 people in this room right now, but there's actually a total of 29 students and alumni, I suppose, who will be participating this year. 14 teams total. There are 7 undergraduate teams and 7 graduate/alumni teams. So we'll be able to do the whole competition on Saturday, April 7th. Those two are separate, so if you're undergraduate, you're not going to be competing against an MBA student. If you're a graduate student, you're not going to be able to poach on the undergrad kids. Sorry. So,
same day, same competition, but prize.
Yeah, just different tracks. So now it is my pleasure to introduce our speaker, Mr. Andrew Meyer. He is kind enough to share his time and expertise with all of us tonight. We ask that you guys give him your undivided attention and just participate and really use him as the wealth of knowledge that he is. You're going to get a lot more out of this whole competition if you really leverage the speakers that are here in front of you who are willing to share everything that they know. So, without further ado.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, good thing this isn't the finance and accounting session. That'd be really boring. I'm not coming to that one, so I'm just kidding. Best of luck with that one. Well, great. It's great to be here. Appreciate you guys taking some time out of your schedules to come around. This is, I think, well, because of my background, I think this is probably the funnest topic you can possibly have. So a little bit about me. I've been in the primarily in the software business for a long time, and before Windows, actually, if anybody knows what that is. But I've primarily been on the marketing, sales, strategy, business development side of the business, and I run companies now. So let me tell you what I'm doing right now. That may be an example of what. Well, first of all, what I've done is I've raised tons of money with venture capital firms, Silicon Valley. I've raised a ton of angel money, so I know what individual investors want in terms of companies and what they want to hear. And I've done also an IPO, initial public offering, so a publicly traded company with a company called WebSense. So I've kind of been in your shoes and a little different perspective, but raised and birthed a lot of companies, bought companies, sold companies, grew them, shut them down. Done kind of everything that you want to say about companies, and I've been in a lot of different markets. sectors. So most of it's been software, most of it's been business-to-business kind of software, although there's been 2 or 3 companies I'm associated with that are more consumer-oriented. And let me tell you about one of them right now, because I'll relate it back to some of the conversation tonight, but it's sort of a medical technology company that I've just joined as CEO. And what they do is they map the brain through this thing called KEGS, I think, Q-E-E-G, I think. And then, sorry?
Is it MindRx?
No, it's a company called Neurologics. And then so they then determine what's wrong with you. So it could be concussion, ADHD, or autism, or early signs of dementia, all sorts of whatever's wrong with the brain. They can determine that. And then they have a series of visual techniques and auditory techniques that repair your brain. So they are actually able not to cure, but certainly fix a lot of the problems that are associated with those issues, whether it's ADHD or autism or concussion. So what's unique about that is, so there's 6 or 8 problems we solve, right? So each one of those problems are very unique to that particular person. So if I'm a mother with a kid in high school who's playing football, I'm very concerned about concussions. And so you got to try to reach that person, that mother. Typically the mother makes the decision in this case. And try to reach that person. Someone with early onsets of dementia, very different buyer, right? So we're trying to figure out, since this is my first week, we're trying to figure out how best to go to market. How do we market ourselves when there's all these discrete problems that we're trying to solve? So you can't do it globally because your message gets mixed up, right? So if I come to your site and I'm only worried about my son's playing football, who may have a concussion, and I see concussion as the 4th ranked item, I don't really care. But if all you talk about is concussions and how you fix concussions, then I'm very interested. So it presents an interesting challenge for our marketing stuff, which I'll kind of talk about a little bit later. So what you got sent was kind of just a quick document, and I put a bunch of questions in there which relate to questions that investors would ask. So that's the genesis of those questions are typical questions that investors would ask as it relates to marketing and your position in the market. So that's what those are. So so what you'd like to do probably in your business plan that you write up is answer those questions in the plan so that they get answered fully in the plan. So that was the idea behind the questions. Any questions about me, background, anything like that before we get started? Sure. Oh, sorry. Yeah, educationally, I went to I have a mechanical engineering degree from Georgia Tech, and then I worked for 5 years as an engineer, probably a really bad one. So I got an MBA degree, and so I have an MBA degree from the University of New Orleans. I was working in New Orleans at the time, so I went there full time. The engineering degree was great because I got to travel the world and actually lived in Southeast Asia for a few years too. So it was good. As an aside, I would recommend living outside the United States for any period of time you possibly can, because it was a very eye-opening experience for me. So I traveled the Middle East quite extensively, and Indonesia, Malaysia for work. So it was a great, really good experience. So recommend it. And then after the MBA, then I've been in software business really kind of ever since. So, good.
Is software your passion?
Well, it has been. Yeah, that's a good question because when I just joined this neurologist company, I'm kind of tired of software, and I want to do something that's a little more impactful. Yeah. And so one of the founders of the company is a woman doctor that I've known. My wife and I have known for quite a while. She's been talking about this company, talking, and finally kind of came to agreement to come to join the company. So it's much more helping people with autism or ADHD or concussions, or seems like a lot cooler thing than software. So software was cool in the day, but it's not anymore. So it's still. So anyways, I'm looking forward to really working with that company. So good. All right, so, well, first of all, before I get started, could you just each one of you just give me a 5-second description of what your company is, or what your idea is? Want to start? If you feel like it. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so, well, I mean, everyone's science book.
Yeah, I'm going to write this down really quick. Yeah, I'm going to write this down.
So this is kind of my kind of quick idea. I've been working with children for most of my life,
Mhm.
and you can log in anytime and kind of see from the perspective of your child.
Yeah.
And kind of in that realm.
Good.
It's still in brainstorm, so there's going to be different features to it. So it's not just a camera. There's probably like maybe heartbeat or
Mhm.
things like that. But yeah.
Right, could you send to my 16-year-old stepson to watch him around?
Yeah. you can't stop.
When he's at Fashion Hound or when he's at Spectrum? That'd be great. Cool, thank you. Anybody else want to volunteer what they're up to? Sure.
It was pretty ironic when you described that you were coming from neurologics and what your interest is. I'm here to try to solve a personal problem with those that are suffering or dealing with a mental illness at a
Mhm.
very young age, and being able to bring together different new technologies that are out there to help diagnose things such as brain mapping.
Mhm.
There's a lot of metabolic testing that's going on
Sure.
as well. So trying to find different solutions to solve that problem.
Right, cool, very good, good, excellent. Anybody else want to just offer up what they're doing?
I see we're doing like health, food, vegan, pescatarian kind of. Not too sure of like the restaurant, but kind of the way of presenting it. We want to go along those lines there.
Okay, so very much health conscious market to tap into that, and okay, cool, very good, great. Well, I'll try to interject as much as possible, kind of examples to bring things to life a little bit. And I have a tendency to talk really fast, so if I do, and I miss something, let me know. But the first thing is, what do you do and why do you do it, right? That's the most important part. And I kind of break things in two sections. What, do you solve a problem, or do you create an opportunity, right, for someone? So, if someone has it, like my example, a concussion, that solves a problem, right? Or, if I'm going to provide maybe, I don't know, tax software, maybe that creates an opportunity because I can save you more money on your tax software. So you got to look at it in terms of you solve a problem, create an opportunity, and then be able to articulate that. By the way, this is probably the most fundamental piece of any kind of marketing strategy or marketing plan, because if you really need to know succinctly what you do, so you need to write it down in a sentence or two, what you do, and then everything else can come from there. But you got to really be able to be very concise about it. And so you got to describe your market. Such way. So let me give you and then you got to just define how big it is, right? So is it millions of dollars, billions of dollars, or in another angle, look at it. Are you going to expand the market, or just take share away from anybody else? And so let me give you some examples of this. What I'm talking about. So if you look at the addressable market. I'll take the food example. So I'm gonna open up a restaurant. So, well, the market size for restaurants in the United States is X, right? But I'm gonna open up a fast casual restaurant in Orange County. So you got to whittle it down to, okay, how many restaurants are in Orange County, and how many fast casual restaurants are in Orange County, and then that's your addressable market, because I'm gonna have to be a fast casual restaurant. And so it's not just there are billions of restaurants in the United States. It's the exact, what are you trying to get? I'm a fast casual, I'm in Orange County. So therefore there are 100 of them or 200 of them, how many of them are there? You need to understand what's addressable in terms of what you're going to do. So that's kind of one way to look at how you define your market. And then I mentioned, are you expanding the market? I mean, an example there would be the coffee market. When Starbucks entered the market, the market was this big. Well, they made the market this big for coffee. So they gradually, really, really expanded the market. In fact, I'll tell you, I have a friend, I tell this story quite a bit. A friend who was a venture capital guy. So venture capital, they provide growth equity or growth capital to companies and fund them. Right? He's pretty much familiar with the VC, like a venture capital person. Okay. So he's very successful in the consumer goods area. Have you heard of Sleep Number Beds, by the way? Okay, so he funded Sleep Number Beds company, and that's how he's retired and lives in Rancho Santa Fe, but different story. But he tells a story about himself where he got the business plan for this thing called Starbucks. And he goes, I don't drink coffee. So I go to my wife, and my wife goes, nobody's ever going to pay $2 for a cup of coffee. There's no freaking way. So he said I totally threw it in the trash can, so there you go. So, but they expanded the market, right? So they created, they went into the coffee market. I don't know if that was their intention, but they certainly expanded the market. So the other thing, I think the other thing that's important is who's the decision maker? Who's going to buy the product? So let me give you 2 examples. So in-app purchases, 99 cents. Who's the decision maker there? A 12-year-old, right? So they make that decision. If I know TV for the house, who's the decision maker? It's the parents, right? So you got to understand who's actually going to buy the product. Now, in the business setting, sometimes there's multiple people involved in that decision. So you got to understand who writes the check, who are influencers, who are gatekeepers, all in that process. So you need to understand that and have that in your plan about who the actual buyer of that product is. Who you're trying to target is the buyer. And I'm very well aware of in-app purchases, by the way, unfortunately. Okay, so that's just pretty fundamental. What is a product? Does it solve a problem, create an opportunity? How big is that market? Are you going to expand it? Are you going to keep it the same? And then market share. One thing that investors will be concerned about is, if you say in the first year I'm going to capture 10% of the market, that's going to be very unrealistic, right? So you got to be pretty realistic about how much of that market you're going to capture and what your role in that market is. And be realistic and don't be overly. The more realistic you are, the better credibility you have in the business plan. Okay, make sense? And then therefore, once you define all that, then you're going to know, okay, what's the objective of marketing? So, if you look at marketing, is it to generate leads, sales? Is it to just do branding, or is it all some sort of combination of that? So, so leads are, if I use marketing to generate a lead, that means somebody says, hey, I'm interested, and then it gets turned over to a salesperson, or it gets turned over to some sort of process where they try to prosecute that deal and close that opportunity. If it's branding, let me give an example of branding. So Intel, right? You never buy an Intel product, right? But they do a lot of advertising. But that's a branding exercise. They're not trying to generate leads. They're trying to make you feel better about that purchase of that PC because they knew that Intel was inside that box. So that's the difference kind of between branding and lead generation, right? So in-app purchases or lead, that's a pure sale, right? That's just getting a sale. So how when you look at marketing, is it to sell, lead generate, or is it simply just a branding exercise? And it depends on your product. The more complex it is, the more it's going to be more branding versus lead generation. Let me give you another example too. So I'm going to create a product and I'm going to sell it to the automotive business. Well, there are probably, 15 or 20 automakers really globally. So I'm targeting 20 companies. That's it. Right? So I'm not going to be doing lead generation online. I mean, my marketing is not going to be lead generation. It's going to be supporting the brand. It's support the brand. That's one example. Another, I think, the example I use is in terms of the objective is, let's look at the two-sided marketplaces. Airbnb, Uber, Lyft, all those guys. There's two-sided marketplaces. There's the drivers, or there's the houses, and there's the people that consume them, right? So they create this marketplace where people get together. Sorry. So yeah, it's Airbnb, Lyft, House. Those guys are all pretty familiar. I know Uber would be familiar to you. And so their marketing activity is critical because they got to recruit people to be drivers. They got to recruit people to have their houses listed, and they also have to create or market to people to use those houses or those services. And so marketing is a very, very critical component to them, and they have to do it as a way to scale. And so there's marketplaces to them, and marketing is a critical function. Consumer goods companies, marketing to them too is more of a branding exercise as opposed to a make it feel good exercise as opposed to a selling exercise. Unless, of course, it's an Amazon, something like that. But cookies or any kind of traditional consumer goods companies, very much a make you feel good about the purchase kind of thing. So think about what the objective of the marketing is to support your business, branding, sales, awareness, that kind of thing. Okay, then the other ones are just kind of the 4 Ps, so I'll cover those right as we go along. So the first one, obviously, is the product. You got to be able to describe in your business plan what the product is about and how, and what, again, does it solve a problem? Does it create an opportunity? I tend to think of those things like that, opportunity or problem. And so what is the benefit? Does it save me time? Does it make me happy? Does it save me money on my vacation if I use Airbnb? What are the benefits to that by using that product and that service? And then what makes you different? What's the competitive advantage that you offer into the market? There may not be a really definitive competitive advantage. It could be price. That could be a kind of competitive advantage that you have. You're cheaper, or faster, or easier to purchase than someone else. That's a huge advantage. I mean, Amazon is their advantage is their logistics and the ability to serve. It's shipping. It's why'd you run to the store to buy something? We can get it, directly from Amazon. Ma'am.
Would it be an advantage if you were? Would it only be a competitive advantage if you were in a blue ocean?
No.
So it has to be something other than that.
Yeah, no, blue ocean meaning something that's brand new would be, the advantage would be that you're a first mover in the market.
Okay.
But if there's a car, you have a better car, then there's why is it a better car? You list the things. This is why we're better than someone else.
Okay.
But blue ocean would be you believe it's a huge market, and you'd be a first mover in that market. So that's the advantage. You'd be first.
Thank you.
Or one of the first. Okay. That's good. Does everybody know blue ocean, what she means when she says blue ocean? Okay, sorry. Blue ocean is a phrase to describe a brand new market. So I've got an idea that no one's ever thought of before, an iPhone, right? So when that first came out, that was a not really, because there was always smartphones, but think of it that way. Yeah. Sorry?
An icon?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Actually, there was real players before that, but kind of. But I actually had a real player. It was 30 minutes of music. That was it. But yeah, so it's a brand new idea. No one's ever thought of it, and you're going to go to the market and make that product. And the good thing the fun thing about blue ocean, it's you get to define what that market is. You get to define what it's all about. I did that with a company called WebSense in the early 2000s. It was the first really internet security company, and it was total, now it's called Blue Ocean. At the time it wasn't called that. It was just a new market, and it's an expensive proposition. You got to have a lot of money to do it, which we did, but it was very successful, hugely successful company. So that was the company we took public, by the way. And so it's you can do it. It's a tremendous opportunity. And I use this phrase called switching costs. So, which is a question that investors ask. So they'll ask, okay, well, if I already have, put aside Blue Ocean for a second. So I've already got a TV, or already have a car. There's some cost to me associated with switching that product, right? So that's called switching costs. So if I'm a company and I already have an ERP system, okay, there's a huge cost for me to switch to some other ERP system. And so you need to, if you're going to go after, but there is a switching cost associated with it. Does that make sense? Switching costs? Okay. You also should cover in your plan, what's kind of the future of the product? Where do you think, where do you envision it going? And, you know, like this year we're going to have version 1 or this product, next year the second product or the add-on, you know, and lay it out over a period of time. It doesn't have to be perfect. And the reason, but you need to think through what that strategy is of the product. And here's the reason why, is because the likelihood of your first product being successful may be pretty low, but the second one may be a home run. And so if you thought through the situation you're in, the market you're going after, an investor understands that and says, well, you know, he's got a bunch of ideas in this similar space. You know, if he's got 10, you know, 1 out of 10, that can really make it. That makes a big difference. If you're sort of single-threaded or only one product, only one iteration of that product, they get a little more nervous. So I would think through future iterations of your product. You know, I mean, going back to the, you know, maybe it's vegan. Next year it's vegan. For this year it's you know non-GMO or organic. Or next year's vegan. The year after that is plant-based. You know, something or other, right? So something like that. Excuse me. And then you need to talk about, you know, how the product's made. If it's software, where is it? Are you outsourcing? You're hiring people. If it's a physical product, where is it going to get made? And oh, by the way, what happens if Costco carries it? How can you ramp? How can you scale the business to accommodate sales to Costco? So, you know, be prepared to, you know, answer questions about scalability of the product or service. I have a friend who brokers companies into Costco. And the biggest problem with that is he won't take on a company until he knows they can really scale. You know, he does, you know, remember the dino chickens at Costco? So like, that's one of his lines. Tortillas is another line. It's like, he goes, tortilla business is like, you know, it's flour and water. It's like crazy. Anyways. But the biggest thing they're concerned about is, can you support the business? You know, if we put it in Costco, can you possibly scale with us? And so, if your product is suspect to, you know, that kind of, if it's a product kind of thing, you know, that's an issue. And so you probably should talk about where it's going to be manufactured, you know, who could manufacture it if it's a physical kind of thing. Obviously, you know, outsourcing to countries that can make that kind of stuff, it's electronic or whatever, you know. China is always a place where people outsource some of the manufacturing. So, and then obviously the software side, it's either internal or a lot of that is outsourced as well. By the way, that trend is reversing itself quite drastically in terms of outsourcing software development. The other thing that they're going to ask about on the product side too is about intellectual property. You know, do you have any sort of patents on this, or is it patentable? A use of funds, if I give you money, is to patent the product. That's a reasonable use of funds. Use of funds, it means if you can raise money, how are you going to spend that money? Besides giving yourself a fantastic salary and a corporate jet and all that kind of stuff. But how are you going to spend that money, right? So a reasonable use of funds, if your idea is patentable, is to get the patent secured. Patents are not cheap. They're probably, I would say, 30,000 at least. Depends on who you use. One thing I will coach you on is, you know, if your business gets serious, you know, you're kind of known by the people you work with. So if you work with your second cousin's friend's lawyer, who's a personal injury lawyer, it's going to do your corporation documents. That's not a good idea, right? A lot of these law firms, big name law firms, have tremendous startup help, and you'll get that, I'm sure, in some of the other coaching. But take advantage of it. The same with not so much with accounting, but lawyer. You know, your company formation. You know, how you're going to do stock. You know, just the structure of the company. Very critical to do that properly. And of course, intellectual property too. And some firms don't do company formation and intellectual property. Intellectual property is pretty specialized, so might have to do, you know, an IP firm and then a general business firm at the same time. But the better the firm, the better the investor feels. I know it's weird, but if I say I'm using, you know, Cooley's a big tech firm, but if I'm using, John, personally John did my, corporation documents, and the investor's going to scratch their head and go, I'm not too sure about these documents, right? So they're going to be very concerned about that stuff. And so the investors are really concerned about big things, which you may not be concerned about. What is an LLC? Is it incorporated? I need to see the documents for if it's, either case, I need to see them. Excuse me. And so all those things you kind of take for granted, that's the documents they live and die by. So the better they're done, they'll serve you well in the future, even though it's an expensive item. And take advantage of the offers that the law firms have. So I'm trying to. There's some around. I just did some in San Diego. They're inexpensive, have good programs. So
going to like LegalZoom would not be recommended if you're trying to work with
no. I mean, you could do that to get started, but if you want to raise money, then that's probably not. They're gonna question that. So they may not, but I mean, certainly if you take professional money, not angel money, but take like venture money or someone from a fund, like if anybody have a problem with Tech Coast Angels, TCA. Okay, so TCA would want good documents, not LegalZoom documents. So the more professional the investor is, the better the docs need to be. And you got to think through the stock. I mean, how's it issued? You get founder shares. I'm sure is there a thing on legal formation and all that kind of stuff?
Well, yeah, we'll have some tools provided.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's option, things like, you're a founder, so you get founder shares, which are different class. And then you got to figure out, is there an option pool to give employees, and then, what's the valuation of the company? So if I invest in your company, what's the valuation? Walk around.
Normally that works. All those ones on the left, Josh.
So let me talk about that for a second, because, but first of all, the question in the back, sorry.
No, I was trying to turn off.
Oh, well,
Sorry.
so, if you say my company's worth, let's say $10, let's make the math easy, $10, and an investor puts in $1, so they're going to get 10% of the company pre-money. And so they're going to give you $1, and in return, you're going to give them 10% of the company. Sometimes, at an early stage round, that's an appropriate, or 15% or 20% is appropriate percentage. If you get later stage, it'll be, and you get professional money, they're going to want a bigger percentage of the company.
What do you mean by later stage?
Like if you want to get venture money or professional money, not friends or family or angel money. If you want to get like venture money, they're going to want a significant chunk of the company because they want to control it. And they're also going to give you more money too, by the way. So, sorry, question? Okay. If you want to, in fact, I can talk more about that. That's an interest, but because I've raised money before, and they're finance people, they're sharks. Be careful. I'm talking about the venture people. Okay. So there's product and there's price. So this is an interesting conversation because a lot of stuff that we do software-wise, price is irrelevant because there's no variable cost, right? There's no product cost. There's no cost of goods sold in effect, very little. Hard products are, there's a product or there is a cost, so there's a cost and markup or something. But sometimes, you got to think about price as kind of being a little bit irrelevant to what the cost of the product is. What position you want to be in the market. My favorite example always is Apple, right? So, what perception of Apple do you have? Is it high quality, right? Like, the best laptops or the best stuff, right? And they price accordingly. I don't think they care about the price, but no, their cheapest laptop is what, $1,200, and you get a Windows machine for $300. So there you go, right? So they're kind of equivalent, but yet they're getting 4 times the price, and that's the perception you want to be. So what do you want to be? Super high quality, high design value, like an Apple product, or do you want to be lower end and more mainstream, more consumer-oriented, or more, more consumer-driven, I guess, to reach a broader market? Or do you want to only reach, the top of people that really want design or really want, the best of the best? And then your pricing strategy needs to reflect that concept, that thought, right? So if you're going to have the freshest quality ingredients, farmer-driven, all that kind of stuff, it's going to be more expensive than a McDonald's hamburger. It just is, right? So, think about that. Think about what your position is of the product or service you have. If you're washing cars, I read a startup that was like hooks you up with car wash guys to come to your house, which I think is a great idea. If you're going to really do a fantastic job washing your car, you're going to charge more for it. But I may be really, and not everybody's going to buy it, but the people that do and appreciate that are going to, so you got to be true to your brand, right? This is kind of what, and Apple that's a classic example of what they do. They're true to their brand in terms of their pricing strategy, which is a lot. I never thought of a $1,000 phone, but there is. So another one thing about price too is software as a service. Does that is that okay? So a lot of products you get on your phone, on the iPad, the Apple Store and all kinds of stuff are priced as an annual license, right? So that's a software as a service where you pay up front, and you can basically renting the software or renting the music, Pandora, whatever, or Spotify. So that's another pricing strategy that's now extremely popular and well accepted. In 2001, when a company called WebSense, we put in a subscription model into a business-to-business, and we were probably one of the first. And then Salesforce.com came kind of after us. So I've been living with sort of a subscription service for a long time. It's a fantastic model if you get away with it. So it's a good one. A lot of companies I work with now are all SaaS software companies, and so it's just an annual subscription. It's just kind of a done deal now. But that's another popular pricing model if it applies to your your particular business. So then on pricing too, think about things like do you want to do a freemium model, which is give away part of the product for free and upsell them later on? Do you want to do in a business sense? Do you want to do a free trial, or even in a physical sense? I mean, give away some food to just get people interested in the food, or give away some health services, whatever it might be, to get them interested and hooked onto your business. That needs to be, think about that as another option. Freemium stuff is pretty almost expected now, I think, where some of these products for free. I use Zoom for video for conferencing. That's 40-minute meeting. That's it. They cut you off because it's the free version. So I like it because it makes the meeting shorter. So there you go. But again, pricing, just match the pricing with the vision you have of the product and service, and make sure they're consistent with each other. Distribution. So, how do you get your product in the consumers and the customers' hand? That's what distribution is about. So how do you get into the market? You need a sales force. Do you need? Can you sell it online? Is there an in-app purchase? Is it there's an advertisements in some local websites, whatever it might be, to get people to buy your product is what you got to think about. So there's some conversations here about a channel, a platform. So a channel is, can you utilize other people to help sell your product? So I use the example of, I have a friend who brokers into Costco for Food Line. So they don't have a sales force. They go to Kurt and say, Kurt, I want you to sell me into Costco. So he's an agent for them and selling into Costco. So he collects a percentage of the deal to sell into Costco because he has a relationship with Costco. So that would be a distribution strategy. Or would be, there's a company in Orange County called Ingram Micro. So they sell computers and networking gear and software for other companies, and so they sell to companies. But I sell to Ingram Micro, and then they sell to someone else. So it's an alternate way to get into the market. Automotive the same way. They have dealers, right? They don't sell direct to consumer. they sell through a dealer network. Same sort of thing in terms of the distribution network. What's really fun though is any kind of platform play. So a platform is a little bit different. Platform is, let me give you some, Amazon is a great platform if you're selling something to consumers. They have all the mechanisms that you can use. They got the purchasing power, Amazon Prime, all that stuff. You don't have to deal with that stuff at all. You can just sell through them and put your products on their shelf. It's a fantastic mechanism. Of course, they get a percentage of the deal, but that's the price you pay. Salesforce.com is one of the first and probably really good example of a platform. Salesforce.com is a Salesforce CRM systems. Are you familiar with that? So CRM is so CRM. So Salesforce.com has got a great platform. If you have an add-on to their product, you can be on their platform. They give you the APIs to integrate with Salesforce.com. They give you access to their network of all their sales distribution network. It's a fantastic way to go to market if you're add-on to say Salesforce.com. And that's just another example. iTunes Storage is another platform, right? It's another platform that you can use to distribute music or books or whatever it might be. So think about that as a way to go to market. You don't always have to have a sales force to get out there, which I think is fantastic about commerce these days, is that it's becoming so frictionless without having to brute force of a sales force, which has been great. And in terms of the evolution of what's happening in the market, it's really been supported. It really supports that.
Hi, excuse me. I'm so sorry to interrupt, but Find Out to Epsilon is supposed to have this room at 7 o'clock. So we're on the schedule to meet in here. So we're just trying to figure out.
Not 7 o'clock.
Oh, okay, but you guys are going to be done
Yeah.
at 7? Okay, I'm so sorry. Just wanted to double check. Thank you.
All right. I didn't double book.
You didn't double book.
All right. So if you do need salespeople, so just you need to articulate to an investor, how long the sales process is. It a month, 2 months, 3 months? How long do you anticipate it taking to sell your product or services? And then you can bake that into the financial model. So if it takes 3 months, you're not going to have a bunch of sales in the first month, right? It's going to have to take 3 months to work through the cycle and get it sold. So understand that, and the more you think it through, you may not have all the answers, but at least try to think it through how long it's going to take. And then I say projected path to a sale, but there is more in a B2B sense, but who gets involved in sales, in the buying process, right? So again, if I'm selling to a company and it costs $1 million, there's going to be a lot of people involved in that decision, right? So if I'm selling something that's $10, not many people are involved in that process. So understand your position, who you're selling to. The higher the ticket, the more people are involved in the process of deciding that.
Sorry for all the questions.
It's okay. We only have 11 minutes now.
You have experience working with SaaS.
Yeah.
Do you know how long the sales process is for those type of companies, or how many customer touch points you have?
Right. So it goes back to how many. Is it for individual? Is it for a department? Or is it for company wide? So that's, if it's company wide, if I'm selling a SaaS product that's ERP, right? That's a long process. The CEO's involved, CFO's involved, that kind of thing. If it's to an individual in the company, a lot shorter.
Okay.
Yeah. So think about the breadth and price point, right? So, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So when I think about Salesforce, if you have an add-on to Salesforce.com, you can go after departments, right? That's how Salesforce actually got in business. They didn't go after the big sale. They went after the sales department. I'm just going to sell these guys, kind of on the side. I'm not going to involve IT. We're going to keep them out of this process. And that's how they got in business. That's how they became successful. They bypassed IT and executive management and sold just the sales, which was actually a brilliant strategy, because the big CRM systems that were in place at the time never worked because they were too big and too cumbersome, and no one could agree how to do them. I was in that market, so I was there. Anyways. So yeah, just think about, again, who's the buyer, right? So if it's a big ERP system, ERP, sorry, that's like your back office, that's your accounting, your production planning, your finance, all that kind of stuff, right? So if you're selling that to a company, CFO, CEO, they're going to make that decision.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I talked about, Costco is I find this Costco fascinating because, I think the average sale in there, I think is close to $300 when someone goes in there. It's close to $300. It just blows me away. I mean, and probably the average sale. I mean, when we go in there, but it's, who knew they'd be the biggest wine seller in the planet? There you go. So it's an interesting story. But if you get in there, again, it's a great way to go. Okay. And lastly, this promotion. So how do you let people know what you got and why and how good you are? This is what investors want to know about. How are you going to promote your product with less cost than anybody else and be very, very good at what you do? So how are you going to get it out there? How are you going to spread the word? It's interesting. A lot of business plans that I've done and do, where marketing is 150% of your revenue for the first couple of years, because you're over-investing in marketing to get a presence in the market, right? So you're selling $1 worth for that year, but you're spending $1.50 on marketing. This is why you need outside capital, right? Because you got to fund that. You got to fund that business. But you get a position in the market. So don't be afraid to have marketing be again more than actually the revenue of the product in the first few years. I would almost expect that. If I was an investor, to say you're only going to spend like 10% of the company on marketing, I'd say you're not going to be successful, because who the hell is going to know about you? You're not going to be a presence in the market. And then I think you really need to come up with what are the key messages that people want to hear that's going to cause them to do something. Right? What's going to cause me to act? What's going to cause me? I always say, it's like, okay, I know I have this problem in the back of my head. How am I going to get that problem to move to the front of my head and fix it, right? And that you're going to have to probably test and experiment with. So just so you do subject lines or whatever it might be, but you need to really test what's going to resonate with the potential buyer. And what are those messages? And then you got to look at the promotional mix. What's best for your market? So I described earlier, the concussion coming in with. So we're doing some experiment with. So the market for that is are women with high school kids or college kids, and they have to probably make $250,000, $350,000 a year household income, because this is an expensive proposition. And so that's who we're targeting. That's the audience we're trying to get right there. So you got to think through it like that. Like, who specifically you want to get to? And the great news about the social stuff now is that they can give you those numbers and give you that demographic. It's fantastic how they can do that. So what's the mix? SEO, SEM, what kind of advertising, social. And I think an underutilized one is public relations. Public relations is trying to influence publications so they write about you or talk about you. And it's a very cost-effective way to get the word out, especially if you're doing something that's really topical. Like we're doing concussions, right? And concussions and ADHD, that's super topical. And we've got, we're almost breaking into the NFL in terms of the concussion thing. That would be a huge thing, right? So that's done through public relations. So, and it builds into credibility with the market. So look for public relations as a way to do it. It's inexpensive, and it's an awesome mechanism. And then obviously you got to figure out what makes you different. My favorite, it's a print advertising campaign, but they're about Oracle. Oracle's a software company. They advertise, I think, in one place, which is Wall Street Journal. It's the bottom right-hand side of the page, the front page, and it's everyone is we're this good, and our competition's this good, and that's all they say. It's like everybody else sucks. We're really good. And that's really all they say. And it's like, I think that's the coolest thing. Because it just shows that they give this little graph, like our processing speed is this fast, and Microsoft is this fast. Okay, I get that. So it's very clean, very concise, but it illustrates their difference and how they want to be perceived against the competition. So very, it's not muddled, it's not, literally 8 words, I think, in the end. So anyways, that's my favorite examples. I guess Larry Ellison, who's the CEO, I admire him for that, have the attitude to do that. Anyways, okay, so those are the things. Those are the 4 Ps, the marketing stuff. So again, just think about those questions in the sheet that's sent around. Think about answering them in your business plan. I think it'll help you in the business plan competition. So I'll leave it open for any other questions. Any other thoughts?
Questions? All right, cool.
Good.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for your
Thank
time. Some last things, guys. First, I didn't want to interrupt, but when you're looking at point number 2, what market do you serve? On the Concordia University library website, there's a really, really great tool that all of you can use called Hoover's Reports, and it's a business journal that is super expensive that the university pays for all of us to have access to. So with your e-number, you can log into the library and you can actually access that, and they will give you so much market research on any specific industry. It's super useful. So Hoover's Reports, and then there's probably 1 or 2 other research databases in there for business that would be good.
The other one is go to trade organizations. So if you're like restaurant organizations, they'll have demographics on number of restaurants, all trends and growth and all that kind of stuff. Or health organizations, whatever it might be, they'll have examples of that. So trade organizations is a great one too.
Cool. And then I was going to ask, a lot of people were shuffling in late. Would starting the workshops later be beneficial to you guys? Is 6 o'clock good? Is 6:30 better? Does anybody have an opinion on that? We're flexible.
6:30 is good, just because getting off the work late.
Okay. Sure. We'll try to push.
I just know like my partner, he has class at 6:30, so I know some people do that class.
Okay. You have class at 6:30.
Like some people have my class maybe like 9, I know that's a little.
Yeah, that would probably be a little
Because
too
then you got some
soon.
people coming that are grad.
I think Thursday, Friday might be less night classes, if it sounds good.
Friday, I think Friday,
Yeah, I don't think anybody wants to be on a
Hey, do the
Friday.
county one Friday night.
Yeah, exactly. That'll get people there. All right, cool. I'll cover the bonus thing in an email. Do you guys have any other questions for us while you're in the room?
Yeah.
My man.
So, I know you guys mentioned mentors.
Yeah.
So we want like a specific mentor. Who do we go
Send Ryan an email.
Yeah, send me an email. Yeah. Send me an email. And if you didn't have somebody in mind for a mentor, but you know what industry your business is going to be in, send me that industry, and then we'll go through the Rolodex and try to find somebody who will be a good fit for you. So.
Also, please clean up your trash because